Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the Live China Music Podcast. This is episode 8, and I'm your host, Will.
And I'm the co-host, Ellie.
You're a host too, Ellie. I mean, we're both co-hosts. Can we just both be hosts?
Yeah, sure. I'll be host with you.
Yeah, we're just hosts and buddies, host and pair.
Yes, the dynamic duo.
Indeed.
So yeah, if it's your first time coming to this show, we discuss Chinese music that has been released recently. If you go in the show notes, you'll see we'll put up links to the tracks. So if there's something you like, just go on, click there, and you'll find the full tracks and more info about the bands there. What are we going to talk about today? Well, looks like we got another good haul this week.
Yeah, we got a bit of some synth pop and cold wave out of Kunming. We're finally just doing like a deep dive on a little bit of the punk scene, and we got some electronic tracks we want to share with you. How about we start off by going to your neck of the woods?
Yeah.
And if you want to, just let the audience know where are you based, Ellie?
All right. So I'm based in Yunnan, which is a charming province in the southwest of China, a province of 40 million people. So you can think of like a small country kind of, and we're close to Vietnam and Laos. So it's very colorful, lots of mountains, lakes, and lots of different kinds of people, and an interesting music scene. Our first track today is from South Acid Mimi, which is a band we've heard of for a long time.
Yeah, they've been around, I feel like, pretty much as long as I've been involved in this scene, and it's they're kind of just like a steady force of nature that's always going to be there in Kunming.
And they've been an inspiration, I think, for a lot of bands. When we talked with Free Sex Shop for an episode, I think 2 episodes ago, they were telling me about how much Sasas and Mimi had influenced them. So it's great to see them keeping at it. And should we just put this track on now?
Yes, please.
All right. So this is Lovers of Highway by South Acid Mimi.
I love the vibes on South Acid Mimi's music. They have referred to themselves as death-toe punk, which I really don't know, what that articulates, but I love that term that they throw out there. And I just dig this very humid, very ravey, very new agey electronica.
The punk thing is something that's very present in their ethos, because they started off as a punk band.
I think ethos is fine.
I think it's pronounced ethos, but I'm not sure.
I think, I mean, I think you can go either way.
Yeah, so I mean, they started off as a punk band, and then they switched to this synth-based electronic music with a lot of ethereal kind of lyrics. But if you listen to these tracks, they're talking about getting in a fast car and living on the highway, which I asked, and they said it's got nothing to do with Tracy Chapman's track. But I think there are some connections there, because Kunming is a small provincial town in terms of, it's not sophisticated, especially at the time when the track was written, because I found out that this was actually a demo that they released over 10 years ago and that they reworked for this release. One of the changes they've made is that they changed "We Are Revolutions" and "We Are Rock Stars" to "You Are Revolutions, You Are Rock Stars," and I think that's interesting because this is 10 years later, and so it's kind of like a passing of the torch.
Yeah, very, very much. It's like, this is your time now. We've done everything we could. We've given you the tools, and it's up for you to lead the next wave, the next generation.
Yeah. Another thing that's important to note about this band is that it's 3 female musicians, and they also have a very strong women's rights, women's power approach to everything they do, which is very refreshing and very rare, especially when they just started. And I think that was an inspiration for a lot of women artists in China as well.
Yeah, I think that DIY ethos is it's always been there with them. It's ingrained in their every being, and so it's just always nice when they come out with new music. Yeah, can't wait to see. Hopefully, do they have something on the line? Do they have something cooking?
Yeah, they do actually. So even though maybe this track has some thing about passing the torch, it's not like, okay, we're done now. They do have new tracks that they're preparing. They're going to release some singles. They're doing a lot of short films. They're very strong in terms of the visuals. They do still DIY, but they always come out with some very creative visuals. And now they're an independent band, because they were signed with Ruby Eyes for a while, and now they're back to being free. And I think it's giving them a big impetus of energy, and I believe we're going to see a lot more from them in the coming months.
Can't wait! Awesome. And while we're still in Kunming, how about we jump to another one of your local favorite acts down there?
Yes, finally. I've mentioned them a couple times. It's Cephalosis. They're a cold wave band, and yes, they're also based in Kunming, and they're also part of this general collective that South Acid Mimi is in. So there's it's called Silver Cloud, and you have South Acid Mimi and Run Rabbit Run, and Cephalosis, and Sing Just Sing, Star. So anyways, it's a big group of a few people, and they do a lot of music, and so this is their latest album. Yeah, lots to talk about. Let's put the track on to start off. It's called Momentary Vortex by Cephalosis.
So let me get that pronunciation correct there, Ellie. Cephalosis, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. And they're a duo out of Kunming, making, moody, icy, synthy, steely, cold wave music. And I love how hard this track goes. It is perfect for the dance floor.
Yeah, and it is. The album has some variations. Not all the tracks go this hard, but you always have this very dark, kind of stormy atmosphere,
which is perfect for the album name, which is Wuthering Heights.
Yeah,
if there ever was a moodier, more gothic kind of setting, then Wuthering Heights is it.
Exactly. They picked that name, purposefully because of the stormy environment, the remote castle, the paranoid characters, the madness prevailing. So good title. And I think the whole album is worth listening to. There's some interesting elements that are not on this track, but they do include some Middle Eastern influences, which I was surprised to hear. And Li Hao, who's the guitarist, and both of them work a lot on the tracks. I think he's more on the lyrics part and maybe melody, and his partner is more on the production side of things, but I could be wrong. He said he was listening to a lot of Muslim GaiWaEr. It's a British electronic artist, and he's been listening to other traditional music from the Middle East and Central Asia as well. So it's come into the album as well.
Nice. And Cephalosis is pretty prolific in general. They put out a lot of stuff, and they do, while they always have this kind of cold wave framework, they do change their vibe quite a bit. It can be very meditative at times, or like on this track, it can be a bit more hard hitting. And so if you just hit up their Bandcamp, it's a treasure trove of music from them.
Yeah, really nice. And so this track was released April 8th. Right now, they're just looking at getting more people to discover them, listen to their music, and probably go on tour at some point later this year. Shall we move on to the next track?
Yeah. Let's keep these kind of electronic vibes going. And I want to listen to the latest track from the producer Little Sweet Potato. All one word, Little Sweet Potato. And this track is called Chromatic Fantasy.
Coming right up.
That was Little Sweet Potato with Chromatic Fantasy. This track is off of a new double single release from GaiWaEr Recordings, a label based out of Shanghai that I suppose specializes in dub and bass scene in China. This producer, I've seen this name pop up before, and it was when he was a part of an experimental electronic trio called Irrelevant Trio, who put out music on another electronic label called SOT Music, and that kind of specialized more in like IDM kind of old school electronic music. And so it's been nice to see this artist just jump around and put out his music with other people. It kind of happens a lot here in the electronic scene. There's a lot of incestuous kind of, we're going to put our music out with each other's labels.
So yeah, I mean, very intriguing track. Yeah, it reminded me of the Herbalizer. I don't know if you're familiar with that producer.
No, pretty good name though.
Yeah, I think he's British, and he was putting out a lot of stuff in the 2000s, I guess. And it's also this kind of music where it feels like a lot of things are happening. It's kind of story-driven, lyric-less electronic music, and I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like how you say story-driven. There is like, this is not too busy. It's not bombarding you over the head with glitch and like just constant like things kind of breaking apart around you. It does feel very narratively thrusted, and I like that. It does feel like something that might have come out in the early 2000s from some from the bass scene back then or something. It's nice. It's a nice kind of plump track.
Yeah, so looking forward to listening to more music from Little Sweet Potato. This was Chromatic Fantasy. For the next track, we're going to switch gears a little bit, aren't we?
Well, I mean, we're gonna get to something, let's just say, a bit more schizophrenic, because we're gonna be hanging out with GaiFever in a moment. And for listeners who do not know, GaiFever is arguably one of our country's finest rapsmiths out there.
He is a legendary rapper from China.
蓄满着一起黑色的压力的面粉，思想地震，一直刷短视频刷到海水变蓝蓝色的大粪。高甜满场的 brother 咖喱少了一种香料，不是甘草，不是黄芪，小豆蔻肉桂，而是新鲜的石灰墙皮。脱口秀当然要脱口，不然就别提心理健康了，羊羊肉够不够？脱口秀如果不能脱口，牛脆脆照样给你保佑。不过你还是你盯着老师手里的粉笔变得弯曲，不能自抑的你的 ADHD 用口水又沾了一块墙皮，周围就落满了雪花，人们都结了冰，上面还铺了一层羽毛，透明的灰尘混合白砂糖，卫生纸上散落的塑料泡沫，水仙花。绵羊和切开的梨，北欧人的皮肤时间被冻住。你问他为什么要静止？因为如果他开始解冻了，这个洁白的房间就会开始发抖，墙皮会如雪花纷纷脱落。在浪尖，在风口，你是加油站门前巨大红色充气人偶在挥手，鼓风机被关掉，你摔倒，心脏才开始跳舞，会了自己会飞呢，你忘了你是个空的，你听地面发现这心跳也不是你的，而是地震，荨麻疹紧张，面粉思想地震，语言恶女恶语相向，怎么男人都这么相像，容易被冒犯，很易怒，冒犯的艺术，冒犯了谁的什么禁止的凝固，有些词那么重，都敢又真又肿，每句话旁边都站着一只眼睛盯着听着每一个字的位置。
Wow.
Wow. I mean, that went places. So give a little background on GaiFever to our listeners, Ellie.
This was 这心跳也不是你的 by 小老虎. So this heartbeat is not yours. 小老虎 means little tiger. He's from Beijing, and he's been putting out music for over 10 years now. His first album was called Juliana, if I'm not mistaken, and very prolific, works with a lot of artists. He's got this flow, a real understanding of hip hop, and he's not afraid to try different things, experiment, bring in some jazz, bring in all sorts of music that you might not expect to see in a hip hop track, but he does it, and he does it well. He does it so well. He's very respected in China for good reason.
Yeah. And so I guess like his style would be considered like very stream of conscious. He's kind of just, his flow is basically just jumping off, you know, the top of his head. It's not so much a freestyle as it is he's just following like a path that just, he's not even quite sure where it's going, but he's just going to follow it to its, wherever it's going to go. And so this album, which is, you know, appropriately called ADHD, it's kind of like a conceptual album for him where he's trying to jump into the mindset of, you know, kind of the world we live in nowadays, this kind of ADHD ridden kind of mindset where we're just kind of so scattered chat and we're just jumping down one rabbit hole after another, you know, scrolling on our phones. And you can very much hear that, you know, within even just this 2-minute track we just listened to.
And it's the album title is ADHD 贪吃蛇, the snake, the greedy snake. And because this year is the year of the snake, and it's also which he mentions that this album, it should be listened in one go. It's 30 minutes long, and you're meant to listen to it in one go, which is ironic because for people with ADHD, that might be difficult to manage.
It does go by quick though, like with over 14 tracks within 30 minutes. It kind of like you don't even know where, you know, the tail ends and the head begins here, and so it's quite a feat of strength from, you know, one of our greatest here.
He's all over the place musically, but he's also all over the place physically because he's traveling a lot. I was talking to him; he was in Japan, and now he's going to fly to Denmark, then go to Iceland, and then he's boarding a ship to Greenland and the Faroe Islands.
Oh, wow.
Maybe he might stay in Europe after that for a little bit.
Wow. Yeah. Best of luck. Godspeed.
Godspeed. And now for a little punk.
Yeah, we haven't really jumped too far into, you know, punk music here, especially, I guess, sounds that are more familiar to listeners. I guess one could even say like an old school kind of punk sound. And so we thought for our last two tracks, we would give a kind of overview of where punk music is at these days. And so our first track comes out of Chengdu from a band that's been around for, you know, quite some time, GaiWaEr, and the track we'll be listening to is
没有意义。
当阳光再次洒满大地，我终于走出这片废墟。是你也是，但记忆永存隐藏的自己，终于觉醒，耗尽了我的耐心与斗志，所谓的伟大或渺小，信仰的余晖照耀着我的城市，丑厚的天空映出往昔的梦，睡吧睡吧睡吧，我对你根本就不在乎，烂吧烂吧烂吧，这就是你的人生啊！睡吧睡吧睡吧，
So this track came from GaiWaEr, a band from Chengdu, as Will was saying earlier. GaiWaEr is a pronunciation from the Sichuan dialect, but they sing in Mandarin. It means Jiewa, the name of the band, so it's Street Kid.
And so these guys have been around for over 10 years now. Really prolific. They put out an album almost every year. And, you know, while this track doesn't really have that hardcore edge that they usually bring to their music, it does kind of showcase their kind of no frills, affectionate, but still just tight musicianship. And, I don't know, I just like how a lot of these bands are, you know, I don't want to say softening up, but they're turning a bit nostalgic, and they're finding ways to approach that with you know, sensibility and sincerity, I think, instead of just kind of trying to, I don't know, become a pop band or something. And so yeah, I like that. I've always been kind of I've always been drawn to these guys because, you know, finding a genuine punk band in China, bands that kind of stick to their guns through thick and thin, and who, you know, are not really in it for the money, but they're in it for the, you know, for the long run. And that's something I can really appreciate. And I feel like these guys are, yeah, one of the few good ones.
This track lyrically is interesting as well, because the main chorus is he's saying he's basically venting his frustration at people being pathetic, and he's saying like, okay, just sleep through the day, do nothing, you know, I don't care anymore, I don't care. And when you sing it that way, you really do care. And yeah, it's interesting to see them do something a little bit more anthemic. Yeah, I mean, it's a strong track by a great band. Looking forward to more stuff from them as well. Don't know if they have touring planned. Have you seen any plans for touring for them?
No, I mean, they're, you know, like most punk bands, they take their gigs where they can get them. They're hometown heroes. They're not eager to, I guess, travel as much as, you know, one would expect, but they keep busy. I think a lot with this album release. I think they've also been putting out some skateboards as well, or designing some skateboards. And so, like,
yeah,
you know, as the punk does, right? They're living their punk lives to their fullest. And yeah, while they may be disappointed in society as a whole, they're, you know, they find, particularly like these guys, they always find like a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always some kind of empathy or sympathy they feel for the people, and, you know, how we just need to keep
and talking
moving
about
forward.
Empathy and feeling for the people. The next track is a wonderful example of that, and it is 问题总是那么多. Problems are still as many by C.S.B.Q.
下班的能量车在加油站停下，8个苦难的生命在车厢中离去了。冰冷车厢比世界更透他们的绝望吧。这一世的苦，如果可以，就请忘了吧。悲伤的雨淅淅沥沥不停地落下，苦涩的泪夹着雨水，更好比咽下吗？这一世的苦，忘记了下一世会好吗？问题总是那么多，答案又在哪？ 爱到一块二，汗水能不能浇灌出金色的象牙塔？世界焦点都聚集在高耸的摩天大厦，谁又会在乎黄土地里千千万万的他？悲伤的雨淅淅沥沥，不停地落下。
So, Changsha Punk Rock Torchbearers, C.S.B.Q. In many ways, I feel like they've kind of taken the mantle that SMZB kind of left behind when that band kind of, went into hiding. And so that is the lead track off of their just released LP, People Problem, or Problem People. And these guys are very much, singing for, I guess, the working class people.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you say?
I wanted to thank you as well for picking this track for today's episode, because finally here's an artist whose Chinese is easy to understand, and so it's much easier for me to go through the lyrics. They're very straightforward about the way they describe the problems they're talking about. They are a voice for people who are very much misrepresented or unrepresented in China, and especially in music in general. In this track, they talk a lot about the rural population as hardships. They also discuss domestic violence, which is it appears in other places in the album as well, which is something that you don't find enough in music in China. So props to them for that, absolutely.
And yeah, it's a nice kind of rustic, folksy, saxophone-filled, sound that, it feels like it would be perfect for like a sing-along in a pub or something. This feels like a band that would just kill live.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought just to illustrate a little bit the lyrics. There's in this song there's a passage that goes 苦涩的雷驾着雨水，刚好被淹下吗？这一时的苦，忘记了下一时会好吗？问题总是那么多，而答案又在哪？ Is it better to swallow bitter tears when they're mixed with rain? Will it be better in the next life if we forget the suffering of this life? There are always so many questions, and where are the answers?
Exactly. I guess a bit of a somber end to our podcast today, but do check out C.S.B.Q's music. Since they've kind of burst onto the scene like a few years back, they've been putting out pretty much an album every year and playing to sold out shows to sold out crowds across the country. And so it's good to see bands, particularly punk bands, kind of, keep the flame lit.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're trying to keep the flame lit on our side as well, with more episodes coming up next. And I'm pretty excited about something we've got in the bag. I'm not sure where we're going to make it happen, but this thing about Taiga, there's a new album coming out, and we want to do a bit of an exclusive episode about that.
Oh, that sounds exciting. Count me in, Ellie.
Also, remember, if you're still with us right now, thanks for tuning in. We hope you're still enjoying the episodes we're putting out, and if so, remember to put a like, thumbs up, whatever it is people do. Share the episodes around, give us a rating, a comment. We appreciate it. So thanks, and see you soon.
Yeah. All right. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be back in a couple weeks with more tunes. Oh my God, Ellie.
Woo!
Yay!